We'll now look at what the absolute value of a number means and how it can be used. So first, what exactly is the absolute value? The actual absolute value of a number is telling you how far it is from zero. It's telling you the distance the number is from zero. So how do we actually calculate it? If our original number was greater than or equal to zero, so as long as it's not negative, the absolute value of the number is just equal to the number. So as long as it's not a negative number, we don't actually have to do anything to find the absolute value. If the number was originally negative, the absolute value of x is equal to negative x. Essentially, we want to change the sign. What the absolute value is it's the number without a sign. So if it's negative, just make it positive. Let's look at a few examples. The absolute value of 2.7. Since this is already a positive number, we just have 2.7. The absolute value of 0 is just 0. And the absolute value of negative 3.9 would be positive 3.9. And that's all there is to calculating the absolute value. Now let's try to do some slightly harder examples. Let's consider an expression like the absolute value of 7 minus pi, and we want to write this without absolute value symbols. Well, we know an estimate for pi is 3.14, and 7 minus 3.14 would be a positive number. Therefore, this thing is actually positive, so the absolute value is just equal to itself. If I try to do the square root of 2 minus 5, well, here we know the square root of 2 is actually smaller than 5. So when I do a little number minus a bigger number, I get a negative. So this expression is negative. So in order to take the absolute value, we would need to change the sign all the way through. This gives us negative root 2 plus 5, or rewritten, 5 minus the square root of 2. A couple more examples doing this. If I have the absolute value of x plus 3 divided by x plus 3, where we know x is greater than negative 3, we want to see what happens. As long as x is bigger than negative 3, we know that when we add 3, we get a positive number. Since we have a positive number, plus either another positive number or minus something smaller than 3. So, therefore it's positive, so the absolute value would just be itself. And then the absolute value of x plus 3 over x plus 3 would be 1. What if we switch that up and do the absolute value of x plus 3 over x plus 3 for x less than negative 3? If x is smaller than negative 3, we're looking at numbers like negative 4, negative 5, negative 29.73. And when we add 3, we still get a negative number. So the top would need to change its sign. It would need to be negative x plus 3 over x plus 3, which would then just be negative 1. While the absolute value does tell us the distance a number is from 0, maybe we want to know how far two numbers are apart from each other rather than from 0. And the absolute value can help us with that as well. In general, the distance between two numbers a and b is given by the absolute value of b minus a. So we just need to subtract the numbers and take their absolute value. So let's do some examples on using this. Let's start first by finding the distance between 3 and 11. When we do this, we have one number that we call a and one number that we call b. Which one you call a and which one you call b will not actually matter. I now have the absolute value of b minus a, and 11 minus 3 is 8, and the absolute value of 8 is 8. So the distance between 3 and 11 is 8. Next, let's consider the numbers negative 8 and 2. We'll call negative 8a and 2b. So I have the absolute value of b minus a. So 2 minus negative 8. So it's the same thing as 2 plus 8, which is 10. And the absolute value of 10 is 10. So the distance between these two numbers is just 10. So it is important to watch your signs. The majority of the time when people mess up doing these distances, it is a matter of a sign issue. So make sure if you're subtracting a negative, you are actually adding. Now let's look at 7 and negative 6. Once again, I'll let the first number be a and the second number be b. So the absolute value of b minus a. Negative 6 minus 7 is negative 13, and the absolute value of negative 13 is positive 13. So my distance is 13. For my very last example, we'll do negative 4 and negative 9. We'll stick with the pattern with doing the first number is a and the second number is b. We then have b minus a, so negative 9 minus negative 4, which is the same thing as negative 9 plus 4. And negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. The absolute value of negative 5 is 5. And what number you call a and what number you call b doesn't matter. If you do switch these and we say the first one is b and the second one is a, we could do this problem again. This time we would have negative 4 minus negative 9, which would be negative 4 plus 9, which would be 5, and the absolute value of 5 is 5. So this is the only difference. If you do a different order, you'll either get a negative or a positive number. If you switch the order, you'll get the opposite sign. But since we're taking the absolute value, that part doesn't actually matter.